versus Ben Friedman. You have the white-black mid-range deck versus Band Company. For the Band Company build, pretty heavy on the quality drops here. So 3 Displacers, 3 Trackers, 4 Bounding Crisis, 4 Reflector Mage. A lot of quality 3 drops to hit with Collected Company. He's playing 3 Jaces, which is what we've kind of seen in Jim's list. I've actually seen some players move more and more away from Jace.
Yeah, they've been talking about shaving Jaces somewhere between 2 and 3 copies. You don't really want it on turn 2 with this deck. There's nothing that you profitably discard. So if your hand is good, having a Merfolk Leader is pretty blah, and this deck wants to be attacking. So you'd rather just have a creature with a body.
Yeah, and sometimes it's not guaranteed that you have something good in the graveyard to flashback. There are 2 copies of Declaration in Stone and 4 Collected Companies as, I guess, your high-quality things.
Right. When you do have the Collected Company, it's really nice to have that Jace, but when you don't, it's not doing a lot of work for you.
Yeah, I suppose in this matchup, the threat of Jace making an emblem could be real. Korey's deck is so heavily bent toward control that he's not particularly good at answering a resolved Planeswalker.
Yeah, Jace Emblem is something that you don't see too terribly often. And it's really too slow for a lot of matchups. And indeed, in this matchup, you could just lose to a Secure the Waste / Ormondal. But it is worth exploring. There's going to be games where that is your game plan.
Now, Korey's deck, it's interesting. We've seen a lot of these white-black mid-range decks. We saw the white-black Eldrazi decks last weekend from the Roanoke crew. This has gone away from the Eldrazi aspect on it. It's really one of the more controlling takes on the archetype that we've seen.
Yeah, the creatures here are not here just because they're creatures. Usually if you're playing Knight of the White Orchid because you care about the body, you're playing 4 copies, only 2 here, and it's all about catching up on lands and getting that kind of card advantage that way. And then Archangel Avacyn is certainly a creature, and it's one heck of a creature, but it's also a removal spell in its own right.
It's interesting. We see a deck playing Avacyn as more or less its only creature. You know, that first ability of Avacyn, making all the other creatures indestructible, Korey doesn't care about that.
No, he's also not really big on flipping it. You could make a Secure the Waste token and flip it that way. You can activate a Shambling Vent, but this is just a Plume Veil that can attack. That's more or less what we're looking at here.
Is that good? I mean, so is Avacyn just a great enough Magic card? I mean, you talked about how it's one of the most powerful cards in Standard. Korey is not utilizing half of the card, but maybe it's still Premier?
I would certainly endorse it, even in a creature light or only creature as the deck, and certainly McDuffie with 4 copies seems to agree.
4. All right, well, we are underway. This is Ben Friedman versus Korey McDuffie, going for the undefeated record here in our Standard portion on day 1. Ben's side is going to be Evolving Wilds into Lumbering Falls. And we've noticed this with the Bant Company deck. It is powerful, but its mana is slow.
Takes a minute to come online, though McDuffie's deck is pretty well equipped to even beat the more aggressive draws from the deck. I imagine this game is going to go long, so the couple tap lands won't hurt him too much. And the hexproof on the Lumbering Falls might be really good. Yeah,
McDuffie's not going to have Ben pay any punishment there. He fetches up wastes with the Evolving Wilds.
3.5 color company.
Oh.
Waste, very important for activating those Eldrazi Displacers.
I mean, this mana is a thing.
It's perfect.
See Prairie Stream in Ben's hand, just firing on all cylinders. It's going to be Duskwatch Recruiter. He has Canopy Vista or Prairie Stream. He'll go for the Vista. They're both going to come into play tapped. Now, there is pressure here on Korey. I really like Duskwatch Recruiter here for a couple of reasons. First of all, that activated ability seems pretty good against the white-black tech. Second of all, this puts pressure on Korey to cast a spell, which may not have been in his game plan.
Interestingly, this is one of those games, I think that if Ben keeps the creature in play, he would prefer it being on the front side, so he can just activate it and pass the turn, get that activation for the card advantage. If McDuffie kills it, he kills it. The 3/3 is less good than the 2/2, I believe.
Yeah, you don't... The mana discount's interesting, but not totally necessary. So what Korey will do here is on his turn, he'll play one of his 2 main deck Knight of the White Orchids and get an extra land. That part seems straightforward. He's now played a spell, so the Recruiter will stay as a 2/2.
Wouldn't be terribly surprised to see another land and a removal spell here.
Yep, Westvale Abbey, and then Declaration in Stone on the Recruiter. That's a surprising one to me to see him go as far as to use that card on it.
So once we're committed to casting Knight of the White Orchid, which is what McDuffie was thinking about even leading on there, then we know that the Recruiter is not going to flip. And as I was saying, I believe it's better to unflip for Ben, because it can actually make up card advantage.
So another Lumbering falls for Friedman, and now plays that copy of Eldrazi Displacer. So we go back to Korey, turn 4. Now, Declaration in Stone, we spoke a lot about how it's a really great removal spell in the format. When a deck is as slow as Korey's deck, the black-white midrange deck, where it's looking to win on turn 12, right? Does giving your opponent that extra card give you second thoughts?
It makes you consider, maybe you don't want to play the full 4 copies. Of course, McDuffie does have 4 copies, and it's just such a huge tempo swing, and he does have the 3 copies of Languish, so he can sweep up a lot of creatures that way, even if you're able to draw some extra cards.
So we'll go back to McDuffie. He's going to start with Read the Bones. Like this here. Really playing just Knight of the White Orchid as an incidental card here.
Right, especially with just the 2 copies. When you look at a deck with Read the Bones, something that you're always kind of wondering is whether or not this could be a Painful Truce deck. And with Knight of the White Orchid, if you wanted to indulge playing with full 4, you could get access to blue mana or green mana fairly easily.
So Read the Bones by Korey does not play a land and passes the turn.
But McDuffie just wants to kill everything. So Read the Bones and keeping a streamlined 2-color mana base is the choice.
So, side effect of that, Ben cannot blink that Knight of the White Orchid with Eldrazi Displacer to get some attacks in. Or if he does, it comes at a cost.
Yeah, now that Ben has 5 lands, if we blink that, if McDuffie sees the interaction, he just gets to go find another plains.
I don't think that's what was going on here, but the play from Ben, a Duskwatch Recruiter, and he does it with 3 mana up. So between Recruiter and Eldrazi Displacer, Ben has a lot of utility here.
Yeah, and now we see Ben with the Recruiter and passing with 3 mana. So now he gets to, if he hits in his top 3, technically draw a card.
And then he can draw a card off a clue. He can the world is his oyster.
That's one way. That's something you could say.
He can do so many things. It's just all the cards are in his hand.
That is not the most accurate representation of the game state.
The 3 mana ability from Duskwatch Recruiter. There are choices for Ben. He sees a Jace, a Sylvan Advocate. Looks like even a Hidden Dragon Slayer.
So with McDuffie not playing lands for a couple of turns and Knight of the White Orchid's inability to find a swamp, he does not have access to Languish just yet.
So after Ben activated this, and this was really neat by Korey, he waited until Ben activated it, and then he stasis snared the Eldrazi Displacer. He had to make that play so that the werewolf did not flip.
Right.
Ben reminding, yes, Sylvan Advocate was his find. Ben will play Prairie Stream. It's now land 6, meaning this Sylvan Advocate is a 4/5. Languish Proof. Dramoka's command is huge. So the Advocate will fight away the Knight. Korey will sacrifice an enchantment. Displacer comes back. The werewolf swings for 2. Korey's at 11, and things are getting very tough.
There's a lot of pressure on McDuffie to have a second Black Source and a Languish right here, or be able to stream at least 2 removal spells out of the hand. With this mishmash of different creatures, Declaration in Stone, not going to be a very good removal spell here.
Yeah, you're looking for a hard sweeper of some sort, right? And Korey's deck, his sweepers are 3 main deck copies of Languish. Now that would be great were it not for the fact that Ben has available to him Sylvan Advocate plus Lumbering Falls. If Korey languishes, he's going to take 9 on the swing back.
Ouch.
Yeah, at 11, he can't really make that play.
Yeah, things look quite grim for McDuffie here.
He will just pass the turn. The werewolf on upkeep will transform.
So now without the creature land, there's 8 power, or rather 10 power.
So it's now the Kralin Horde Howler. The 3/3 in play. Ben's creatures costing 1 less. And we see it looks like Ben's just going to go for the kill into this open mana. He'll activate Lumbering Falls. That's a 5/5 thanks to Sylvan Advocate. And here comes the team. You can't just pushing them, maybe tapping them, maybe not.
You figure it out.
Yeah, 3 1/1s for Korey to block.
Yeah, Friedman just decides there's no real way to punish this attack. The best thing that McDuffie could theoretically have if he had another land is an Avacyn, and we're pretty far from that happening.
So game 1 will go the way of Ben Friedman. He and his Bant Company deck really outclassing the white-black mid-range.
Yeah, it's really impressive the way this Bant deck can kind of out-card advantage the control decks in the formats.
Yeah. These players are going to get ready for game number 2 here between McDuffie and Friedman. We're going to take a second. We talked to you about the Season 2 we have coming up. We have a lot of great events. One of them highlighting it is GP Charlotte, which we're going to take a second to talk about.
On May 20th through the 22nd, make plans to be part of Modern Weekend and Magic the Gathering history when StarCityGames.com proudly presents Grand Prix Charlotte. Register for the Modern Format main event to compete for thousands of dollars in prizes and receive an exclusive playmat featuring Jace as he pores over the pages of Tomio's journal. Select the 3-day Infinite Challenge package to compete in all challenge events for one low price, while also walking away with the exclusive Jace playmat. Add a premium rewards package and take home a collectible pin, deck box, 80-count pack of sleeves, and playmat, all featuring the iconic Noble Hierarch. Play in select side events for even more chances to win additional Noble Hierarch pins, deck boxes, sleeves, and playmats all weekend long. And don't forget to come say hello to Grand Prix Charlotte's many special guests, including cosplayer Christine Sprankle and an artist alley full of fan favorites, headlined by guest of honor Rob Alexander. Be part of Modern Weekend and Magic the Gathering history. Register for Grand Prix Charlotte today.
Well, hope to see you all at Modern Weekend in Charlotte or on the West Coast. I know I'll be making out to one of those events. Thinking you might have to battle some Delvers.
It's a little far for me. I assume you're flying out?
Hoping to, yeah.
Right on. Do you have a team you're going with?
Team.
A squad?
I'm on Team Primeval Titan.
Okay, that's a pretty good team. That is a big man.
Yeah, we're on Team Primeval Titan. Still kicking. All right, we're going to look at the players' sideboards as they move on to game 2. So starting with Ben Friedman and Bant Company. Certainly has, as a blue deck, he has a lot of good anti-control cards. Looking at the list here, what do you like in the matchup?
So McDuffie didn't do a lot in game 1. Most of what he did do was cast non-creature spells. And so negate seems great here. Some argument for dispel as well, though not as exciting. It's unclear if Friedman knows that McDuffie has Avacyns. So I think that Clip Wings until we see one is going to stay on the sideboard. And then the Felidar Cub is pretty good because it blows up things like Silk Wrap and Stasis Snare.
So out of a deck like Black-White Midrange, does Ben even need to board in something like Clip Wings? I feel like when Avacyn does not have her supporting cast of followers, that she's less of a threat.
It is going to eat a creature and stick around to eat another creature later. You do have things like Bounding Krasis and Reflector Mage to keep it in check. So there is an argument for just leaving it in the sideboard once you see it.
Fair enough. We'll see if he brings it in. On Korey's side, it felt to me that game like he needs more sweepers. Looking at the cards he has available, it certainly does have those sorts of options.
Yeah, we have the 4th Languish. We have 2 copies of Planar Outburst. Those are going to be the slam dunks that are coming in here. The 3rd Night of the White Orchid seems solid. It's just another creature to get out on the ground. Having multiple first strikers is always better than having one. Kalitas is bigger than the creatures in Friedman's deck. It has some awkward dyssynergy with Languish, but once you're able to make a zombie and sacrifices, you get ahead of that. And I do like the Linvala the Preserver quite a bit.
Yeah, I was wondering. He's got all these high-end cards. Quarantine Field, Sorin Grim Nemesis, Linvala the Preserver. I mean, I know he wants to go big in this matchup. I'm just not sure how many of those cards he can play.
Right. So there were definitely negates in the Bant deck sideboard last weekend. So for that reason, I like having the creatures more than I like having the spells. And that could be another argument for having Avacyn in this matchup and knowing that the green light is generally going to be on for Linvala.
Yeah. Well, I'm not really sold that Secure the Waste is something Korey's interested in this match.
Yeah, in game 1, it just did a bunch of chump blocking.
Yeah, and I mean, outside of the Westvale Abbey interaction, which seems very good, that card doesn't seem to offer much.
Right. It takes a long time for it to actually come online. You really just need to be drawing sweepers and removal spells.
Well, we'll see if he does that. Game 2, players will start off by trading tap lands yet again. for Korey. It'll be a second one as he passes. And a Jace for Friedman. Now, sometimes we do see players on the play actually board out their cards like Knight of the White Orchid.
Yeah, you have to skip a land drop or fall behind on lands for it to ever start triggering, and this is definitely a deck that wants to get all of its lands into play.
And there will be some action from Korey. It's going to be ultimate price to take care of Jace. And just clean removal. When you look at the cheap removal in Korey's deck, we have ultimate price, Declaration in Stone, Transgress the Mind, perhaps Silk Wrap? No, it looks like he's not on Silk Wrap. But still, the removal actually in Black-White is more efficient than we've had in Standard for a while. It's more 2s than 3s.
Right, it's very efficient, and there's a lot of options. Many of them are great.
It's going to be Declaration in Stone on Duskwatch Recruiter for McDuffie. He'll pass back, leaving up to both the Forsaken Sanctuary and the Shambling Vent. For Ben, he plays a tap land and passes. Now, keep in mind, on turn number 3 there, Ben missed his land drop. So Declaration in Stone giving Ben a draw was pretty reasonable.
Right.
Fifth land and pass for Ben.
Getting the Jace off the table looks a lot better when you see your opponent miss a land drop, though it looks like Ben is drawn out of it a little bit.
Yeah, he hits a land and an Evolving Wilds. You see in his hand, negates, 2 negates, Collected Company, and Dromoka's Command. There's a lot available for Ben, all at instant speed.
And McDuffie's deck is not positioned especially well to punish stumbles. Missing a land drop could be a big deal for a lot of decks, but McDuffie wins the game slowly when he wins.
Looks like Secure the Wastes is still in Korey's hand. Ben passes, leading up his Collected Company, and Korey will flash Archangel Avacyn into play.
Decides there's probably not any Ojutai's command for this right now. Suspects that Collected Company will be the play for Friedman, so the Secure the Waste wouldn't be super good.
So here's Collected Company on Korey's attack. We'll see what Ben hits. This is a big one.
I'm not seeing any creatures that look like lizards or wizards.
I know the deck has moved away from the wizard-lizard plan. I don't like that as much. We see Collected Company do Tireless Tracker and Duskwatch Recruiter. Then Ben will take 4. It's our first look at Tireless Tracker in the matchup. This card is a huge source of card advantage if it can ever stay alive, which is a big if in this matchup.
Yeah, McDuffie is certainly not short on removal, but the ability to turn any land into a card, given 2 mana as an investment, or say an Evolving Wilds into 2 cards, that's a big swing. When your opponent is bent on just killing everything and not really drawing that many extra cards themselves.
Yeah, so we'll see if Korey keeps it alive. If he has the option. We're post-combat here. Ben was knocked down to 15 by Avacyn. And I don't think it's a if he'll kill it. I think Korey's deciding how he's going to kill it.
Yeah, this is a how and a when. Now and with this.
All right, well, how about we bury it in stone? Declaration in Stone will take care of Tireless Tracker. And now Knight of the White Orchid for Korey. Now he actually is ahead on lands, so that's just a 2/2. But I like the work Declaration in Stone is doing here. When you look at Ben's hand, he's got 7 cards. This is not an issue for Ben of whether or not he has enough cards. It's enough mana, so giving him that clue token, it's going to be a long time before we see this get activated.
Right, he just has so much to do with his mana. There will be windows. Looks like there's a pair of negates in Friedman's hand. So he'll be trying to leave those up, I assume, from kind of this point onward. And just using that mana to crack a clue if no opportunity is presented is pretty good.
Right, now the difficulty is going to be that Archangel Avacyn that Korey was able to sneak into play.
Yeah, there's not necessarily going to be enough time to monkey around too much.
5th land is played from Friedman. It's a copy of Evolving Wilds. You mentioned before, where it would have been quite the play were Tireless Tracker still around.
Right.
He will pass the turn and transform the Duskwatch Recruiter into the Kralin Horde Howler. 3/3 is big enough to block Knight of the White Orchid, but not big enough to swing through Avacyn.
And Friedman doesn't have a lot going on his deck that can actually deal with this Avacyn. We were talking about during sideboarding that, you know, maybe he doesn't want to bring in Clip Wings, but I think just seeing in this game how much just one Avacyn can matter, we're probably going to be seeing that in Game 3 if it's not already in the deck.
Yeah, I see Korey checks out the other side of his Avacyn, some signs that maybe that Knight of the White Orchid is going to hit the bin. Yeah, and he's okay with that. He's
Yeah.
can just swing both of them freely.
Well, you can take 2 extra damage, or you can take 3
extra
extra
damage,
damage,
yeah.
and my creature gets +2/+1.
Fittingly, +2/+1 is Unholy Strength, which, you know, Avacyn flipping away from her white side. I really appreciate that.
It's very flavorful.
It's some of the hidden flavor on the cards.
Unholy Strength, not a red card, though, which doesn't really do it for me.
It's not perfect.
It's close. They gave it their best effort. This flavor stuff is hard.
I suppose even as a Red Angel, she's still holy, but just really vengeful.
Yeah, there's been a few Red Angels in Magic's history. I guess there's been a few Black Angels, too.
So we have a bunch of stuff happening here. So going to attacks, we have a Bounding Krasis attempting to make a tap. Then we have a kill spell cast by Korey, but a negate cast back by Ben. So the Read the Bones, correction, the Read the Bones was negated by Korey. And end step, the Archangel was attacked. The Angel actually not attacking there.
Yeah, so on this board state, McDuffie knows that this Avacyn is just going to win the game given enough time. And using this Knight to chump block, the Avacyn will flip over, and it'll kill these 3 toughness creatures. So we'll be able to clean them up and kind of plague win that way.
Yeah, so during second main, Korey goes for Declaration in Stone on the Duskwatch Recruiter. That's going to work. So a set of clues here for Ben, but board presence still low.
Certainly nothing as impressive as an Avacyn. No sign of anything that can survive that Avacyn flipping over just yet. And Friedman actually really wants this chump block to happen now, so it's just the Krasis that gets killed by the Avacyn.
Yeah, here comes the Lizard. Well, Korey looks like he's going to accept. He's thinking about it. It's interesting when you look at this game, just how many cards Ben has available. Looks like Korey will take the 3. Second main, Ben will play a copy of Sylvan Advocate.
Yeah, winning the fight over card advantage is no issue here for the Bant deck.
Yeah.
Though winning the fight over the 4/4 flyer is proving to be more trying.
Well, there is a Dromoka's Command in Ben's hand, so he can set up a board where he has Dromoka's Command and 2 negates. I would have to think that there's a situation where Ben can kill that Avacyn.
Right. Without a 6th land here, if McDuffie has a removal spell that can, if he says something, say, ultimate prices his own Knight of the White Orchid, that would blow this plan open, though Friedman does have the negate to cover that.
Yeah,
it would take 2 copies or something like that.
Yeah, Ben has 2 negates in hand. His hand is Dromoka's Command plus 2 negates.
Right, but only the mana for 1 in this window.
Right. A swing by Avacyn will happen yet again. Now, these life totals are actually getting pretty close here. You see Knight of the White Orchid swinging 2. If Ben blocks, the Avacyn will, yeah, it'll just flip. It won't actually take, that flip doesn't happen until the next upkeep. But 4 damage to Ben. He goes to 10. A creature died, so that's gonna show us Avacyn's vengeful side here. Is there anything Ben can do about it? He's debating whether he wants to go for that Dromoka's Command now, or whether it looks like he's just gonna crack a clue to draw a card.
Yeah, and going this way, you can just use the Dromoka's Command to fight the Avacyn with the Krasis that was going to die anyway. And
now Archangel Avacyn may become Avacyn the Purifier. The 6/5 Vengeful Angel will deal 3 to each creature. With that trigger on the stack, Ben is going to attempt to fight her down with Dromoka's Command. It looks like he's using, and he used his Bounding Krasis to fight her down.
Yep, this way the Avacyn doesn't flip, and the Advocate gets to stick around. 6th land makes it a 4/5.
And now it will attack. Advocate attacks Korey. And that'll put Korey down to 13. And end step, secure the wastes for 5 from McDuffie. That'll get another negate out of Friedman's hand.
Yeah, with that Westphal Abbey in play, can't just let that one resolve.
These Declaration in Stones, these extra cards that Ben's getting, are starting to add up. The fact that Ben can draw cards like negate off these extra these clue tokens has got him ahead on the board. He's down 13 to 10, but now 8 power in play.
Friedman was never in a bad position in this game in terms of card economy. It was just the issue at the Avacyn, and now with that solved, McDuffie is in a lot of trouble.
So you go back over to Friedman. He's going to activate Lumbering Falls. Lumbering Falls looks to join the 2 elves. And now 4, 4, and 5. That's exactly 13. It's going to force action on Korey McDuffie's side. He can make a 1-1 to block with Westvale Abbey. And that's not going to do it. He looks at his top card. And there you have it, 2-0. Ben Friedman looking for his 5th invitational top 8. He's off to a great start. He aces the standard rounds for the morning, and at 4-0, he'll be moving on to Modern.